The burial, the betrayal, and the billion-dollar secret. Rain fell in thin, icy sheets over the Willowstone cemetery as mourners gathered beneath black umbrellas. The air smelled of wet earth, lilies, and heartbreak. At the front stood Maya Hale, 7 months pregnant, her hands resting gently over her belly as she stared at the casket containing her mother, her last remaining parent, her anchor, her safe place. Beside her stood Ethan Hale, a man who looked more annoyed than grief-stricken. His jaw twitched, his eyes darting to his watch every few minutes, and he kept checking his phone as if someone more important might call. For weeks he had complained about Maya's mother living with them, about her medical bills, about the deadweight Maya refused to abandon. But Maya didn't see the coldness in his eyes. She was too sad, too exhausted, too distracted by the hollow ache left by her mother's death. The burial service moved slowly, each moment stretching into forever. As the final prayers ended and guests began drifting away, Ethan's impatience snapped. "Maya. We need to talk," he said sharply. "Can it wait?" she whispered. "This is my mother's." "No," he cut her off. "It can't." He stepped away from the small crowd, forcing her to follow him toward a private corner by the old stone wall. The cemetery was quiet, too quiet. Even the rain seemed to hush. Ethan took a deep breath, more dramatic than necessary. "I'm done," he said flatly. "I want a divorce." Maya blinked. "What?" "You heard me," he said, stuffing his hands into his coat pockets. "I can't carry this anymore. The bills. The stress. Your mother. The baby coming. It's too much. I didn't sign up for this life." Her lip trembled. "You're divorcing me, at my mother's burial?" "It's not my fault the timing is bad," he snapped. "But I need to think about my future. I can't be tied down to someone who has nothing to offer financially or..." Maya's breath caught. "Nothing to offer?" She felt her knees weaken. Ethan continued, completely unaware of the disaster he had just triggered, both emotionally and practically. "I'm leaving tonight," he announced. "I've already moved my things. You can keep the apartment for now. But I'm not paying for anything else. I'm freed from this nightmare." A tear slid down Maya's cheek, not from his words, but from the brutal irony. He didn't know. He had no idea what her mother had told her, only 2 days before she died. Her mother's voice echoed in her memory. "You must keep this quiet until the will is read. It's what your father wanted, the Hale fortune must be revealed when the time is right." Her father, the man who died years ago, had been far wealthier than anyone knew. He'd built companies, trusts, foundations. And when her mother passed, everything transferred to Maya. $500 million. $500 million. And Ethan was walking away from it while accusing her of being a burden. Maya wiped her eyes, steadied her voice, and said only, "If this is what you want, fine." "Good," Ethan replied, almost relieved. He didn't even look back at her as he walked toward his car, phone already to his ear, laughing with someone moments after abandoning his pregnant wife in a cemetery. Maya placed a hand on her belly and whispered, "We'll be okay. I promise." Behind her, the lawyer who had handled the will watched silently from a distance. He had seen everything, and he suspected Ethan had just made the worst mistake of his life. Because in less than 48 hours, the world would learn what Maya had inherited. And Ethan would find out last, the will that changed everything. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the curtains of Maya's quiet apartment. It felt wrong, too bright, too warm, compared to the storm that had unraveled her life the day before. She sat on the edge of the bed, one hand holding a cup of tea, the other resting on her belly as her baby shifted gently inside. The world felt heavy. But she wasn't alone. Not anymore. At 10 a.m., her phone buzzed. "Attorney Samuel Kent. The will reading is at noon. Please arrive when you can." Maya exhaled. This was the moment her mother had prepared her for, one that felt surreal and bittersweet. She dressed carefully, choosing a simple black dress, tying her hair into a loose bun. The mirror reflected exhaustion, yes, but also something new, strength. By the time she reached the old Hale Estate law office, the parking lot was already half full. Her mother had many distant relatives, most of whom hadn't bothered to visit during her illness but were certainly present now, eager for money they thought would finally be theirs. Inside, the room buzzed with whispers. "Why is she here? I thought Ethan was coming too. She's pregnant, maybe she'll give her share to the baby." Maya ignored them and sat quietly beside Attorney Kent, who gave her a reassuring nod. When the clock struck 12, he stood and cleared his throat. "Thank you all for coming. As executor of Eleanor Hale's estate, I will now read her final will and testament." The whispering stopped instantly. Kent opened the thick, embossed folder, adjusted his glasses, and began. "I, Eleanor Grace Hale, being of sound mind and body." Formalities, legal statements, standard disclaimers. The relatives fidgeted impatiently. Then the room stilled as Kent reached the section everyone had been waiting for. "To my daughter, Maya Grace Hale, I leave the remainder of the Hale Family Trust, including all assets, properties, shares, and holdings valued at approximately $500 million. Gasps erupted. One woman dropped her purse. A man choked on his own breath. Someone else muttered a furious what? But Maya just sat still, eyes closed, breathing deeply. She had known, but hearing the number aloud made her heart pound. Her mother's legacy. Her father's empire. All entrusted to her and her unborn child. Kent continued, unfazed by the commotion. "No other individual shall inherit financial assets from my estate. Any relatives present who believe themselves beneficiaries should note that these decisions are final and legally binding." A collective wave of outrage exploded. "This is ridiculous. She can't do that. We deserve something." Kent raised a calm but firm hand. Eleanor Hale was very clear. She wanted the wealth to protect Maya and her child. "There are no contesting clauses available to any of you." As the relatives stormed out, some in disbelief, others in fury, Kent turned to Maya. "There is one more thing," he said softly. "Your mother left you a letter." He handed her an envelope sealed in deep red wax. Maya's fingertips trembled as she broke it open. Her mother's handwriting, soft and familiar, filled the page. "My sweet Maya. If you are reading this, I am gone and you must walk forward without fear. You have been given the tools to build a better life for yourself and your child. Never let anyone, especially someone like Ethan, make you believe you are a burden. You are my legacy. You are strong. And now, you are free." Maya pressed the letter to her chest as tears streamed down her cheeks. For the first time since yesterday's burial, she felt a spark of hope, small, fragile, but real. Kent placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You don't need to make any decisions today. But there is something you should know. Ethan called my office this morning." Maya's head shot up. "What? Why?" Kent sighed. "He asked about the estate. He claimed he should be present for the reading because he was your husband." Maya felt a chill, icy and immediate. "He has no idea, does he?" she whispered. Kent shook his head. "None." And that was the moment she realized. Ethan wasn't just gone. He was coming back. Not for her. Not for the baby. But for the money he had thrown away without even knowing it existed. Ethan smells money. Ethan Hale was not a morning person, but today, adrenaline dragged him out of bed before sunrise. He had spent the night at his friend Tyler's place, drinking, ranting, and repeating the same line. "I'm finally free, man. No more bills. No more stress. I'm done with that mess." But something nagged at him. A weird comment Tyler made. A strange tone in the lawyer's voice when Ethan called. The fact that Maya hadn't begged him to stay, she had just accepted it. And that bothered him more than anything. By mid-morning, Ethan paced across Tyler's cluttered living room, phone glued to his ear as he dialed the attorney's office again. "This is Ethan Hale," he said, trying to sound important. "I should have been invited to the will reading. I'm her husband." The receptionist replied politely but coolly, "Mr. Hale, the reading is already taking place." His stomach tightened. "Can you at least tell me if Maya inherited anything? I have a right to know." "We're still legally married." There was a pause, one that lasted a beat too long. "I'm afraid I can't share that information," she finally said. But Ethan heard something in her voice. Nervousness. Hesitation. A tiny slip that told him everything he needed to know. His eyes widened. "She did inherit something, didn't she?" "Sir, I cannot discuss." He hung up, heart pounding. Tyler looked up from the couch. "What's up? You look like you saw a ghost." "I think," Ethan whispered, hands trembling slightly, "I think Maya's mother left her money." "How much money?" "I don't know." "But what if it's big? Like big? Her mom came from old money, right? Maybe Maya's been hiding it. Maybe that's why she wasn't upset yesterday." Tyler raised an eyebrow. "So you divorced her at her mom's burial, and now you want to go crawling back?" Ethan shot him a look. "She's still my wife. Legally. If she inherited something, I'm entitled to half." Tyler snorted. "Wow. You're really something." But Ethan didn't care. He grabbed his keys, adrenaline pumping. "I'm going back home. She can't get a dime without me knowing." He jumped into his car and floored it toward the apartment he had abandoned just 18 hours earlier. As he parked outside, he rehearsed lines in his head. "Maya, I'm sorry. I was stressed. I didn't mean it. We can fix this. For the baby." He walked up the stairs, plastering on the fakest smile of his life. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again. "Maya? It's me. Can we talk?" Still silence. He tried the doorknob, it opened. She hadn't locked it. He stepped inside. The apartment was quiet, calm, and empty of her presence. Only a few boxes were stacked near the door. Her coat was missing. Her purse was gone. Her favorite shoes gone. Ethan frowned. Where would she go? He searched the bedroom. Nothing. The kitchen. Nothing. Then he found it. An envelope on the dining table with his name written in Maya's handwriting. He tore it open. "Ethan. I will not fight you for leaving. I accept the divorce. But I need space to grieve and to protect our child. I'll be staying somewhere safe. Do not contact me. Maya." Ethan crumpled the paper in his fist. "Safe," he muttered. "Safe from what? From me?" He paced in a rage, knocking over a stack of mail. One envelope stood out, heavy, embossed, fancy. From the Hale Estate Attorney's office. He froze. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a simple notice. "This letter confirms your non-involvement in the will reading of Eleanor Hale. No spousal rights apply to the inheritance." Ethan's pulse slowed. Then stopped. Then exploded. "No rights? What does that mean?" he shouted into the empty room. Tyler, who had followed behind, whistled low. "Bro, sounds like she got a lot. And they've already cut you out." Ethan's face twisted with anger. "No," he growled. "She's not cutting me out of anything. I'm still her husband until the divorce is finalized. She can't just disappear. She owes me." He stormed out of the apartment, fury driving him like gasoline on fire. He didn't love Maya. He never really did. But now? Now she was worth something. And he would find her no matter what it took. But Maya had already anticipated this. And she wasn't running. She was preparing. Maya's new power. Maya didn't run. She elevated. After the will reading, Attorney Kent escorted her to a secure, private residence owned by the Hale family trust, an elegant, secluded stone home surrounded by pine trees in quiet hills. It wasn't extravagant, not like the mansions people often pictured when they heard the word wealth. Instead, it was peaceful. Safe. Exactly what she and her unborn child needed. She unlocked the front door, stepped inside, and let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. Everything smelled faintly of cedar and lavender. A fire crackled warmly in the hearth. Even the silence felt protective, like the house itself knew she needed comfort. Kent placed a folder on the coffee table. "These are the trust documents," he explained gently. "Your mother set everything up so that the estate is shielded. Ethan cannot access a single cent, not unless you choose to give it to him." "I won't," Maya said immediately. The firmness in her voice surprised even her. Kent nodded. "Good. She trusted you to handle this. And we expect your husband will try to contact you soon. I advise letting all his messages go unanswered. Legally, you owe him nothing." Maya sank into the soft couch, smoothing her dress over her belly. "Thank you. Truly. I didn't expect any of this, especially not now." "There's one more thing," Kent added. "Your mother left specific instructions for how the press should be informed. Her passing will go public tomorrow. So will the inheritance." Maya's breath caught. "Public? As in, everyone will know?" "Yes. That included a statement naming you as her sole heir." Maya closed her eyes. She could already imagine Ethan's reaction. The greed. The anger. The sudden desire to make things right. But she wasn't the same woman who stood crying in a cemetery yesterday. Now she was a mother-to-be. A millionaire. And a woman determined to protect her child. That night, for the first time in months, Maya slept soundly. Meanwhile, Ethan was spiraling. He stomped into his car, slamming the door so hard the window rattled. "Safe house," he muttered mockingly. "Somewhere safe. Who the hell does she think she is?" Tyler leaned against the car. "Maybe she just wants space, dude. You left her at her mom's burial." Ethan glared. "I gave her freedom. Now she owes me." "You're unbelievable," Tyler sighed. "Shut up," Ethan snapped. "I need to find her. If she thinks she's keeping money from me, my money, she's insane." He pulled out his phone and began calling everyone, Maya's friends, her co-workers, even her obstetrician's clinic. Most didn't answer. The few who did told him nothing. Then, as he scrolled angrily through news sites, a headline caught his eye. "Heiress Maya Hale inherits $500 million family fortune after mother's passing." His jaw dropped. 500, he almost choked on his own spit. Tyler murmured, "Holy crap." Ethan forgot how to breathe. Forgot how to think. Forgot everything except one horrifying realization. He had publicly, loudly, and proudly divorced his pregnant wife, who now had more money than he could ever dream of touching. He read the article again, devouring every line, especially the one that said the Hale fortune was completely insulated from spousal claims. "No. No, no, no," he shouted, pounding the steering wheel. Neighbors stepped onto balconies to stare. Tyler took a few cautious steps back. "Ethan, maybe it's over. Maybe you should let it go." "Let it go?" Ethan snarled. "I was married to her for 4 years. I paid for everything. She owes me. I deserve something." Tyler shrugged helplessly. "Looks like the law disagrees." But Ethan wasn't listening. His mind was already spinning with schemes. Maybe he could force her to reconcile. Maybe he could sue. Maybe he could charm her, manipulate her, guilt-trip her. Anything. He spat out the words with venom. "She's not keeping that money without me. Not a chance." Back at the estate, Maya sat beside the fireplace, rereading her mother's letter. Her baby kicked softly, as if sensing her emotions. You and I, she whispered to her belly, are going to build a life without fear. She didn't know that outside the gates, miles away, a storm was brewing, a storm fueled by greed, bitterness, and the man she once vowed to love. But Maya wasn't the fragile woman Ethan thought she was. She was finally stepping into her power. And she was ready for whatever came next. Ethan's desperation turns dangerous. The next morning, Maya awoke to the soft chime of her phone. She reached for it sleepily, only to find over 30 missed calls and dozens of texts from Ethan. Ethan. We need to talk. I'm sorry about yesterday. I was stressed. Please call me back. Maya, this isn't funny. I'm still your husband. You owe me a conversation. Maya, answer me right now. Her stomach twisted, not from fear, but from disbelief. The man who had thrown her aside like garbage was suddenly desperate, frantic, clawing for access to her life. And she knew exactly why. A moment later, Attorney Kent stepped into the living room with a calm but stern expression. He's already contacted my office again, Kent said. He demanded to know where you were staying. Maya frowned. What did you tell him? The same as before. Kent adjusted his tie. Nothing. She exhaled in relief. But she knew Ethan. He wasn't the type to accept no as an answer. He was the type who pushed until someone broke. Well, she wasn't breaking. Not this time. Kent sat across from her. Maya, we should prepare for the probability that he will escalate. Fortunately, your mother foresaw this possibility. Huh? Maya blinked. Kent slid a document across the table. Your mother knew Ethan's personality better than you did. She reviewed your marriage 2 years ago when her health began to decline. Quietly. Discreetly. Maya stared, stunned. Kent continued, she created a marital protection clause within the trust. It states that any attempt by Ethan to threaten, manipulate, or coerce you, directly or indirectly, automatically invokes a restraining order and bars him from approaching you. Maya covered her mouth in disbelief. She protected me even from him? Kent nodded softly. Your mother loved you fiercely. A tear slid down Maya's cheek. But the peace didn't last long. Meanwhile, Ethan sat in his car outside Maya's old apartment, fists trembling with anger. He had spent the night obsessing over her new title. Heiress. $500 million. How could she hide this from me, he muttered. How dare she? His phone buzzed. Tyler, bro, maybe don't go over there. It's looking bad for you. Ethan ignored it. Another message buzzed. Unknown number. Mr. Hale, this is a courtesy notice that any further attempts to contact Maya may lead to legal action. Legal action? Ethan hissed. Me? Her husband? He threw his phone onto the passenger seat and sped out of the parking lot. If Maya wouldn't answer his calls, he'd find her. He drove to every place she had ever gone. Her friend's house. Her yoga studio. Her prenatal clinic. Even the cemetery. Nothing. Each dead end added a new layer to his fury. Finally, around sunset, he arrived at the Hale estate gate, towering, black, and intimidating. A sign read, Private property, no entry. Surveillance active. He got out of his car, marched toward the gate, and shouted, Maya! I know you're in there. Silence. He grabbed the bars of the gate. You can't shut me out. You're still my wife. That money is half mine. A voice crackled through the intercom. Sir, step away from the gate. Law enforcement is on the way. Ethan froze. What? Who are you? I represent the Hale Family Trust, the voice said calmly. And you are trespassing. Ethan backed away slowly, but not before shouting. You think you can hide behind security? I'm not going anywhere. I'll come back every day. You can't steal what I deserve. He stormed back to his car and sped off into the night, but not before a silent camera recorded every second of his rage. Inside the estate, Maya watched the security footage on the screen, hands trembling not from fear, but from sorrow. This man she once loved. He cared more about money than his own unborn child. Kent placed a gentle hand on her arm. We've already filed the preliminary restraining order. The police will deliver the notice tonight. Will it keep him away? She whispered. Yes, Kent said. Legally and physically. The estate is protected. Maya nodded slowly. Her baby kicked again, almost as if urging her to keep going. She took a deep breath. This ends now, she said quietly. No more fear. No more letting him control anything. She wasn't the same fragile woman who lost her mother. She wasn't the abandoned wife Ethan walked away from. She wasn't his responsibility. And she definitely wasn't his opportunity. She was Maya Hale. Heiress. Mother. And finally, free. But Ethan wasn't done. And the confrontation that was coming would change everything. The final confrontation and a new beginning. The restraining order was served just after midnight. Officer Ramirez and Officer Cole knocked on Ethan's apartment door with the soft but firm authority of people who had done this many times before. Ethan opened the door shirtless, irritated, still half drunk. What? He snapped. Ethan Hale? Ramirez asked. Yeah. You've been issued a temporary restraining order. You are legally required to remain at least 500 yards away from Maya Hale at all times. You are prohibited from contacting her by phone, text, email, or through any third party. Ethan blinked. What? You can't do this, I'm her husband. Sir, Officer Cole said, handing him the papers. Her legal team submitted hours of evidence. You have violated her boundaries multiple times, attempted to track her location, and trespassed. This order is valid immediately. Ethan ripped the papers in half. Ramirez didn't even flinch. You can tear the paper. You can't tear the law. Then the officers turned and left. Ethan stood in the doorway, breathing hard, fists clenched, his face twisted with rage, humiliation, and disbelief. This isn't over, he growled. But it was. He just didn't know it yet. The next morning, news about the restraining order hit social media before sunrise. Heiress Maya Hale files restraining order against husband. $500M fortune at center of marital breakdown. Community supports Maya Hale after heartbreaking betrayal. Public sympathy swung entirely in Maya's direction. People applauded her strength. Women shared stories. Celebrities commented. Support flooded in. Meanwhile, Ethan's name began trending for all the wrong reasons. Gold digger husband. Left his pregnant wife at a funeral. Now wants her inheritance. Companies he had applied to for work quietly removed his pending applications. His landlord refused to let reporters into the building. Tyler stopped answering his calls. His world was collapsing, and Maya wasn't lifting a finger. At the estate, Maya sat on the back patio, sipping herbal tea and watching the morning sun rise over the pine trees. Peace, real peace, finally settled into her bones. Attorney Kent approached. Mind if I join you? Please, she said with a smile. He sat beside her, placing a folder on the table. It's done. The restraining order is active, your security is increased, and the estate transition has begun. You're now in full control of the Hale Trust. Maya nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility and freedom all at once. Kent hesitated before adding, there's one more thing you should know. Ethan's attorney contacted me this morning. He planned to contest the divorce, but once the restraining order hit the news, he withdrew. He won't pursue anything further. Maya exhaled, relief pouring out of her like a long-forgotten breath. So it's over. For good, Kent confirmed. Maya placed a hand on her belly. Then it's time to focus on what really matters. There was a quiet knock at the patio door. A gentle-faced woman entered, gray-haired, warm, carrying a binder. "This is Mrs. Addison," Kent said. "Your mother hired her years ago. She's here to help manage the philanthropic side of the trust." Mrs. Addison smiled kindly. "Your mother wanted you to have purpose, not pressure. She believed you would do great things." Maya felt tears prick her eyes again, but this time, they weren't from grief. Or fear. Or betrayal. They were from hope. She stood, walking slowly to the balcony railing, overlooking the acres of land that were now hers. Her mother's voice echoed in her heart. "You must walk forward without fear." She whispered back, "I will, Mom. I promise." Epilogue 8 months later. The Hale Foundation for Single Mothers officially opened its doors, fully funded, beautifully designed, and dedicated to providing housing, education, childcare, and legal support for women who had faced abandonment, abuse, or financial hardship. Reporters swarmed the opening ceremony. Flashbulbs burst. Crowds cheered. And then, "Maya! Maya! Over here!" She turned, smiling softly as she held her newborn daughter in her arms. The baby blinked up at the world with bright, curious eyes. A reporter asked, "Maya, what inspired this foundation?" Maya looked down at her daughter, then back at the crowd. "Because every woman deserves a chance to rise," she said. "And no child should ever feel unwanted." The applause was thunderous. Somewhere far away, in a rundown apartment littered with empty bottles, Ethan watched the ceremony on TV. His life was unraveling. His reputation destroyed. His access to Maya and the fortune permanently severed. He realized, too late, that the moment he walked away from Maya at that cemetery, he walked away from the greatest blessing he would ever have. And Maya? She didn't just survive. She triumphed. She became a mother, a leader, and a woman whose life was no longer defined by betrayal, but by strength. The end.